Well, you'll know this name, David East. He was a former Christchurch City Councillor and he is putting his hat in the ring again to be the councillor for the Coastal Ward, and he joins me now. Good evening to you, David.
Hi there, Chris. Good to talk to you again.
And you, why do you want to do this job again?
Well, Chris, I think there's actually three reasons why I'm standing. Since the by-election arose, I've been approached by numerous people in the community to stand again. These same people are expressing a concern that there is a new but a very enthusiastic community board, but sadly they lack institutional knowledge and experience. At council level, there's also a concern expressed that often the searching questions aren't asked. I have that knowledge and experience, and I'm not afraid to ask the hard questions, take on the big issues, and advocate strongly for both the Coastal Ward, the city, even at the risk of sanctions that have and can be imposed. Secondly, the last election was a very close affair with some distance back to the other candidates. This gives me some confidence that there is still strong support for my re-election as the councillor for the Coastal Ward. And thirdly, I have a bit of a genetic disposition to serving my community. I'm proudly a fourth generation resident of the Coastal Ward. My great-grandfather and my grandfather both served on the New Brighton Borough Council, and my parents were very involved in governance and community roles. I've followed this tradition and have a significant record of involvement in numerous community and sporting groups across the ward and the city, bringing a wealth of knowledge and experience to the role of a city councillor for the Coastal Ward.
David, what have you been doing since you haven't been a city councillor?
I've been maintaining my role as in the community. I'm involved with a lot of community groups still. I have a small business where I work as a tax consultant and management accountant, and that has kept me fairly busy for quite some time. But I've never let go of my interest in a number of community groups and activities.
I've been asking all the candidates this question. What do you think the biggest issue facing Christchurch residents is? Not just necessarily in the Coastal Ward, but citywide.
Well, I suppose you would sort of naturally at the moment pick the stadium, but I'm actually going to go for climate change, coastal hazards and sea level rise. It's an issue that is very dominant in the Coastal Ward, but it's also an issue that has quite significant impacts for the rest of the city as well. I get a little irritated at times when the focus is always put on the Coastal Ward, doom and gloom. But in fact, if we experience, as they are predicting, a 1 metre sea level rise, we will be facing inundation issues right up to Lancaster Park. So for me, that is probably a huge issue for both the Coastal Ward and the city.
Do you believe that will ever be the case?
I like to challenge science. At the moment, we are talking about a 1 metre sea level rise. A lot of it's based on computer analysis, and I always will challenge some of these computer modelings. And one of the searching questions that I always ask is, what is the margin of error on the data that you are putting into these models? And I've had previous experience going back years ago where a significant report was put out for wave run up on our sand dunes, and we found out later that there was a margin of error in the wave period of plus or minus 30%. So I will always challenge science. Science is there to be challenged, and we need to be reviewing our position all the time. I'm a great advocate of adaptive management. just looking at what's happened in the past 10 years and do we need to make some drastic change or do we keep going? That's the sort of approach I want to take.
David, you've kind of answered this question, but I'm asking every candidate the same question. Why should the good people of the Coastal Ward vote for you? In 30 seconds or less, go for it.
I've had experience as an elected member of the council for quite some time and a reputation for advocating for all people. And that's evidenced by the success of local initiatives such as the Kiwi 2 rebuild and the hot pools. I have and will continue to ask the hard questions on your behalf. My key election issues are a fresh perspective in the council's engagement policy and addressing financial inefficiencies, our roads and footpaths, and for me it's paramount that we have a meaningful, community-led approach to climate change, sea level rise, coastal hazards, and the estuary edge restoration. With your vote, I can once again champion the needs of the Coastal Ward.
Okay, David, it's good to see you again. Thanks so much for your time this evening.
Thank you, Chris. Good to talk to you again.